Oh God. Is this how I blow my hand off? Probably so. Oh shit. Hey everyone, James Reeves, TFBTV. You recognize the gentleman here to my left, Cody Wilson of Defense Distributed. I would say the grandfather of ghost gunnery.
Nice.
Can I say that?
I feel old, so
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. You're a pioneer in the do-it-yourself
Thanks.
gun movement. I mean,
Yeah.
I think everyone would acknowledge that.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to use the term ghost gunnery. I don't want it to be like Xerox. Yeah, like where we at it.
Chewing on when you just said that, I was like, damn, we need to use it. We've never used it.
Yeah, you've been ghost gunning for some time.
Feels that way. About 10 years now. Actually, this last weekend, it'll be 10 years since we printed Liberator.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and now we've got something, as we do every time you're on the program. People know it isn't as much as we would love to just catch up.
Sure.
It isn't just to catch up. It's because we have something new and exciting.
Yeah.
But do we want to catch up before we get to this? You want to tell me how things are going, like what's been going on with Defense Distributed?
Today's conversation is motivated by an injunction that we were able to get against the ATF. This was in the Northern District of Texas. It's a response to all this brouhaha about the ghost gun rule, the so-called ghost gun rule. You know, there's been a lot of ups and downs about kit guns, polymer 80 guns, these kinds of things. One of the last times we spoke, we demonstrated 0% receivers, our version of those anyway, with the AR. But we were at that time predicting what the new legal environment, political environment might be. And so a lot of things happened since then. But today, on the heels of this injunction, we're demonstrating a new version of 0% in the pistol. And so we're both following on like the results of what's happened to Polymer 80, what's happened to us in court. And I think we're trying to involve what the people are doing in the 3D printed community.
First of all, congratulations on the injunction.
Hey, thanks.
I mean, that's a pretty big win.
I've never won anything before.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it was not cheap to get there. I mean, as somebody who practices law for a living.
It only cost everything.
Yeah, sure. That's it. That is it. But congratulations on that first and foremost. Second of all, before we get to what exactly we're talking about today and this next evolution of the Ghost Gunner, I think you've been on this program 4 or 5 times. We've been doing this, for 4 or 5 years now. I want to say, yeah. I think it's now time for you to catch everyone up on, briefly, on Ghost Gunner 1. What did it do versus, let's walk it up this way. I think it's a nice dramatic reveal. So it started when?
I'd like that. Yeah, Ghost Gunner begins in 2014. We realized, okay, we've done a lot in 3D printing, but not a lot of that was immediately commercially exploitable or something we could bring to the gun owning public. It was like a demo, and we predicted a lot of things would happen and change, but those printers were still very expensive. And we realized with a lot of feedback from people like you, there were gaps in the market. People couldn't even make metal guns and metal gun receivers. There was a very DIY low end for metal receivers, but 80% had become they had cohered as a commercial thing. So we're like, you know what, let's take what we learned in 3D printing, G-code, programming, let's apply that to milling. We hadn't even seen a domestic or desktop milling project or package. And we brought what we thought was the best one we could at the time. That was Ghost Gunner 1. It could barely do AR 15, 80% receivers. It was built to do AR 15, 80% receivers. And that was kind of it. It was only just good enough to do that. And we shipped on that basis.
But you sold them. I mean, we sold a lot. Yeah.
Actually. And it really was like, there was such a confidence in that. And there was such clearly there was a little bit of an enthusiastic market. And we realized, you know what, let's try to push to 308 receivers. Let's try to push, can we get to pistols? We set a roadmap to Ghost Gunner 2 by saying, you know, we're not accurate enough with 1 to do pistols. Let's change how we do our motion control. Let's change our accuracy. Let's see if we can get better limit switches, etc. Can we program this thing, this platform, this idea to do pistol frames like the 1911? And that's where we went for the next couple of years. Beyond that, we recognized, you know what, we can bring in the Polymer 80 frame that was becoming very, very popular at that time. We got the endorsement of Polymer 80 to do that. And then we set our sights on, okay, ultimately we know that 80% had become very targeted by about 2016, 2017. We saw that California had planned to ban them by 2018. We're like, what is a Ghost Gunner 3? It's nothing if it cannot make something from raw stock, from 0%, the holy grail of at least this side of the space.
Right.
3D printing had begun to evolve in a new direction, which was exciting and interesting. Still not that commercial, but we recognized if Ghost Gunner 3 as a project could be completed, we would need to demo the 0% receivers and steel receivers and other things to say, hey, this is the fulfillment of third gen CNC in the desktop. It's comparable to 3D printing on the desktop at this point. It's of course more expensive, but you still don't see Chinese knockoffs of this machine. So it's because of our radical commitment to getting to 0% along the way from Ghost Gunner 2 that we have a project here today which can truly do steel, truly meet military specifications for pistols, and I'm going to show you today a 0% pistol, which we think is the culmination of our efforts over the past 3 years.
Is this still classified as a Ghost Gunner 3?
This is a Ghost Gunner 3S. The S is important. We debut that with you.
Right.
It's strong enough now to do steel and Glock slides and other types of steel slides. That strength mechanically was really necessary, and of course, a Ghost Gunner 3S has firmware updates as well to allow it to do that. We're going to show you, I think, with what we have to debut, I feel like I'm spoiling it. We're going to show you that we can do this in steel as well. Ghost Gunner 3Ss can do what we're showing here in steel today, but of course, any Ghost Gunner 3 can do the 0% in aluminum as well.
Right. So what can I make with this that I couldn't make with prior iterations? You've already told me, but let's
the platform, sure.
Distill it.
Ghost Gunner 3S, the latest version of what we've got, can do steel AK receivers, which are still being sold, by the way. Arms of America, everyone. It can do Glock frames, which is what we've debuted with our optics cut kit. RMR pattern stuff, I think I showed you that in our last thing. Now that's just on the steel side. We're going to show steel 1911 frames here very soon. I think we're doing a campaign on that next week. Probably by the time people see this, that's already out. And of course, every commercial 80% that's on the market, we have the work holding for. So we recommend skeletonizing, we recommend engraving, and even compliance measures if you're behind enemy lines in certain states. So it's truly a gunsmith box. It's a general purpose CNC that's programmable. The software that we shipped with it for many years allows you to do quite a bit of programming outside of just the prepackaged files that we give you. But it was built to do guns and gun work.
So what are we going to do with it today?
Today I want to show you the latest 0% receiver, and we get to define this as a receiver because of the ATF's injunction. So here's your new block of aluminum, not unlike the block of aluminum I showed you last time for an AR receiver, but that receiver had to be done in 3 parts. This can just be done in 1. We call this chassis a Glock chassis, and it's for a G 0% receiver. So this is, we're P320 in your Glock. We've chassised your Glock, right? So what we've done is, okay, we've defined defense distributed. Injunction against ATF says, you know what, this is the receiver now for a Glock.
Okay.
This is simply a grip module.
Right.
No longer a frame, no longer a regulated component.
That's what they do with the SIG. That's what they've done with Steyr. There are a lot of guns that have used this chassis system, so there's no reason why it shouldn't be,
right.
you know, if you're using a Glock frame.
And we're not saying, hey, like this is a brand new, inconceivable invention. This is actually, it takes a lot of its cues from what's already happening in 3D printing, where people will print a frame and they'll use a rail kit, locking block kit. You know, Polymer 80 uses a 2-part kit and block system. I'm sorry, a rail and block system. And so we've already seen those cues. We've seen what's popular in commercial. Though Polymer 80 is now facing headwinds because of the legal environment, we've said, you know what, we'll use this injunction to say that this is truly the frame now, and this is truly receiver like in a SIG.
Right.
And now this is an unregulated component.
Right.
And now let's say like the multiplicity of creative people in the 3D printing space who love to customize Glock frames, we've taken one problem out of this. This is no longer regulated for them, and it's now a commercial channel. So we're trying to marry 2 concepts here. You can mill rails, and you can do FMDA rails on this machine. We'll show you how to do that. You can mill our chassis, and now you can print or buy a grip module to complement the work that you've done on the CNC.
I can buy this, no FFL required, or I can just make one myself.
That's just it. It's 0%. It's all on you, buddy. And you know, your mileage may vary depending upon your state. There's a new assault weapons ban every day that I'm waking up.
Right.
But what we've shown is we've taken advantage of this loophole in federal power for the moment, this degradation of the ATF's Ghost Gun rule to say, you know what, Glocks can be done a slightly different way. Here's the frame, here's the chassis, here's the receiver. People really love to customize their stippling or their printed grips, their printed frames. There's a ton of anime titties all over these things. And so now it's like, hey, good news, 3D printers, this stuff's unregulated. Maybe you can sell your anime titties now.
That's disgusting. Do you have one I can look at just to see how disgusting it is?
What,
I'm
titties?
just really curious. Yeah.
Look, I'd like to show you, let's say this is printed in nylon on a bamboo X1. Okay, like
don't know what any of this means, but go ahead. Yeah, there we go.
Our chassis, right? And so we've got a basic.
Now we've got a Glock.
I call this complementary. Like I've always, for years, right? We've started in 3D printing, we've gone into milling, we've gone into file sharing. There seems to be this division in the camps that like these technologies aren't related. I'd like to visually show you that the technologies now reinforce each other,
Right.
like the First and Second Amendments. And so this dimension of doing a Glock, thinking of a Glock in a slightly different way, puts you on, I think, slightly outside of hobby territory. As my good friend Stephen has said, we're on a path to duty grade.
On a path to duty grade. I love it. This actually, doing all this, and we've got all the little components back here. It feels like we're on a cooking show, except not shitty. Like that's what I love about having you on the program. Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, but for dudes, I like it. So in any event, is it time for the big reveal? Yeah. So I can make more or less one of these.
This is a compact G0 or compact Glock 0%.
What of these components can I make on the GG3S?
You can mill that slide, by the way, for that side.
I remember that.
But I recommend you either print this grip module or you buy an injection molded one from us. You can print any variants of that module from, let's say, DefCAD or Odyssey, and you can make the chassis, which is now,
right,
sandwiched on the Ghost Gunner 3.
Right. This thing works. It turns out. I was positive. This, by the way, it looks like I was pretty sure it was going to blow up. I was fairly confident. I actually just shot this with my left hand. Let's have a look. You guys haven't zeroed this optic, but so first shot, and then kind of walked it in. That's actually pretty. And it looks like this slides from like a PSA dagger. Is that what this is?
Right.
Yeah, you got a PSA dagger, and if I want to, I can cut my optic. I can just buy the barrel, the slide, all the unregulated stuff. I just buy it, right? For a Gen 3 Glock or its clones. I buy a Gen 3 Glock parts kit. Looks like for the frame.
Yeah.
I use your chassis. I print my own frame or receiver.
It's worth mentioning, just like in the other Glock spaces, this is all Gen 3 compatible.
Right,
right. That's how we've done Glock stuff in the past, and we're taking cues from Polymer 80, from 3D printing. We want everybody to play nicely within the same field of expectations, the same limitations of state law.
I want to make a 9mm. I'm good. I want to make a 40. I'm good.
Oh, I see where you're going now.
Yep. 357 SIG. I'm good. What if I want a 10mm?
Today, I'm telling you, we're committed to compact Glocks 9mm. That's what I'm telling you today. But I do hope that this way of thinking about the chassis, proves immediately exploitable for remixes and customization from, let's say, our community at a minimum, and then perhaps we can reabsorb that and support that directly for 10mm.
Now, the good news is for you, if you're looking at a Venn diagram, you've got like 45 ACP buyers and owners, and you've got like Ghost Gunner owners and users. Yeah. You might get some 10mm overlap. You might get some, and I believe those circles are becoming concentric. They're merging at some 10mm and Ghost Gunner, but I would hope. 45, don't even worry about it.
I would hope. I mean, look, the 1911 thing bears mentioning, but I understand what you're saying. So it's easy to go to the well for Glock, I think, but like there was so much already there in elemental primordial stuff to use. It needed to be recombined. It needed to be demonstrated in this way. Printing, milling, they go together. They're both Ghost technologies. They're both outside of the ATF's new program, the new way to imagine to regulate homemade guns. And importantly, at this exact moment, we're actually ahead of the ATF with demonstrating this with a Glock, on a Glock. Let's say if 0% AR was a defensive posture to predict like where the ATF would go, 0% Glocks are a celebratory gesture. We're saying like, actually, we feel like we're in a state of free play. Look, we can involve 3D printing technology if we so desire. We can get you to think about new ways of creating standard stuff, right? And in one sense, this is, look, another Glock, what are you doing? Ghost Gunner, come on, we've seen this before. At the same time, it's like, whoa, we SIG'd your Glock. This is what these DIY technologies are allowing you to do.
You SIG'd the Glock. I mean, is that the tagline for this video?
Well, if I want to be sued by both companies, yeah, I think that's the way. So you know what? Fuck it, let's do it.
No, but I mean that is really, and that's what I'm driving at, because like a lot of people are going to be like, well, Cody, we saw this shit last time. You were here in New Orleans, whatever. We had this on the pool table, and it was the 3S. So it's like, what's the big deal this time? The big deal this time is the chassis, this new chassis system for the Glock.
New 0%. Really happy we got there. Aluminum, also steel, because we're in the 3S. And let's say you really want that duty grade. Hey, you can make that chassis in steel. I guarantee you that's going to perform better than any hobby printed rail kit gun that you're going to build. All right, this chassis that you're already looking at today, this has already gone past 1,000 rounds in testing.
Right, which is cool. And we're going to be able to test that today because we're here at the best gun range in the entire world,
Nice.
Neutral Ground Gun Company,
Yeah.
of which I'm a part owner. Just saying, maybe I'm a little biased. But we're going to be able to take this thing out on the range. But in any event, we've done a lot of talking. Time to do some shooting. As usual, dude, keep fighting the good fight. We love having you on the program. We're going to support you as long as we can. Guys, stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. We'll bring you more TFB TV from Neutral Ground Gun Company.